Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Well-Rounded Wealth Podcast. Jack, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm doing really well.
Good, good. So, what do we got going on today? What are we talking about?
Well, we are out of the studio today. We are in Patrick's apartment in Charlotte, and we just had a fun night. We caught up with some old friends, and we have one of our closest friends here as a guest today, Clayton Brockmann. What's up, Clayton?
Hey, how you doing?
We're good, man. Just tell us, and I guess our audience listening, like who you are and how you know us.
So I'm Clayton. I'm one of Jack and Patrick's good friends. It's funny kind of putting this into perspective just out loud, but we went to school together from the age of 5 to when we graduated high school. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of time. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, we go way back, and we've kept in touch, and we're, great friends. There's really no other way to put it. Like, it's just we've stayed really close, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm glad y'all are having me on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is exactly actually what we decided we should talk about. We want to do an episode on friendships and maybe relationships a little bit in general too with other people and what makes a good one. And we've been friends since we were like 5 years old, so I would love to investigate like why our friendships have stood the test of time.
Yeah, why they continue and what makes, or what are some factors that go into kind of continuing a relationship beyond something that's just, I guess, a little um, existential or something like that, or that's kind of flighting or whatnot. Like, how do you maintain a good, healthy relationship? So, I think with that, like, in terms of kicking the conversation off, one thing that I'm interested in is how do you make that jump from, all right, you've been around someone as a friend for the entire like growing up part of your life through middle school, high school, elementary school, all that, and now we're going to school or we're living hundreds of miles apart. So how have we maintained that, and like what have been important parts of our not only maintaining it but growth as friends?
Yeah, we have a group chat, a high school group chat with all of our friends, and I was convinced that when we went to college that it would slowly die. And it's definitely not as active, obviously, but it has not died. It just hasn't. Like, there are still texts in that group chat sometimes. And I don't know, I guess we just have that connection that we can continue to text each other. And it's less of like us like talking, making jokes with each other, and it's more like life updates from some of our friends and like some of you guys that I like really appreciate. And I think it's just important. Like, sometimes you might think that, oh, like they don't need to hear that. They're busy throughout their day, or like, oh, I don't want to just talk about myself. But I think when it comes to that with group chats, I think it's really cool to just like give those updates because I always like to see them. So I'm sure it's good vice versa too. I think
Yeah.
if you have good news and if they're actually your friends want to hear that good news.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of fun, like, kind of back and forth between, like, sometimes it's like diet LinkedIn. Like, it's just like, hey guys, like, this is what I'm doing. But then at the same time, we can just have fun and, we're just doing our thing. And it's just like seeing the mix and match of all that is kind of funny. But at the end of the day, as long as you're keeping in touch and you're committing to that, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maintaining what you had, like, you have to just commit. That's all it is. You just have to commit. You have to say, like, you know what, I have this much time in the day. Am I gonna, just not call that person, or am I gonna, like, shoot that person a text and I'm gonna say, like, let's catch up. It's been a little while. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And I think on the maintenance and like commitment level, it's also a part of, I think, where our relationship started and our friendship started is our values and what we're passionate about is pretty aligned with most of the people in our group. So we didn't really fall into the high school hoopla of like, all right, popular group, whatever. We kind of just, like I think we've talked about before, Jack, is we did what we enjoyed. And
Yeah.
like, even though it was goofy and nerdy or whatever, like, we had a ton of fun doing it. And we were like, screw it, I don't care what everyone else in the popular culture or what's like socially cool, like whatever everyone else thought. But
Yeah.
like we stuck to who we are. And I think when you're maintaining or even cultivating new friends, when you find people that align value-wise and passion-wise, that's where you can form deeper connections.
Yeah. What I really enjoyed about our friend group is that we all had similar, I guess, overall values, but we all had very different backgrounds of what we were doing in school. Like we were not like the basketball team who like played basketball and like I was doing theater and so was our buddy Andrew, but then like other people were doing soccer and like other people were doing lacrosse like you, Patrick. Like we all were doing different things. Yet we were all friends. Yet we all sat at lunch together every day. Yet we had our group chat. Yet we always hung out with each other on the weekends, which I thought was really neat. And I don't even, looking back, really know how that happened.
Yeah.
It was the best way possible. It was organic. It wasn't like some forced acquaintance where we all just were on the same team, like you said. We were in the
Yeah.
same club or something. We just kind of, like, I don't want to say accidentally, but like we just ended up meeting people that shared those same values, which is what you just highlighted. Like we found those people organically, and that's, I feel like, a big part of why a lot of us are so close to this day.
Yeah, no, I very much agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that actually kind of sparks a thought of mine on something I've read. It's called when kids are super young and just starting to play with toys or get introduced to the concept of playing with others, it's called parallel play. So like you'll set two children next to each other. One's playing with his truck, another playing with his truck, and they don't know each other. They're just playing with their trucks separately. But because of proximity and affiliation, like eventually they're going to start playing with their trucks or whatever together. And I think that's a natural kind of way to introduce friends, like when you're doing something that you both enjoy. So like I guess let's apply it to kind of where we are now in life. Like if we're both going to the gym, if you're working out with someone or working out by yourself and someone else is working out with you, like you can be like, oh hey, like I'm doing kind of the same things, like why don't we try and do this together one time or something like
Right.
that. And then that's kind of how you get to kind of affiliate with someone or get introduced to someone else. So.
Yeah.
That does make me think kind of on the line of like acquaintance versus friend. Actually, just when you mentioned the gym, like I like just like spitballing, but there's like a guy like at my gym that I never see outside of the gym, but he and I are like, he's like my gym guy. Like I just am like I go up to him, like,
You always dab him
like
up.
we dab each other up. I'm like, oh, how you doing? Like, oh, like looking great. Like, how you doing? What are you hitting today? And then like I saw him one time outside of the gym, and it was hilarious. Like we ran into each other at a bar, and he's a graduate student at Chapel Hill, so he's just kind of completely different circles. But then I was like, we just kind of like were walking, and I was like, oh, here he is. Wow. But it makes me think though in terms of like, like you run into so many people in your life, and you're not gonna be that close with everybody, and I think that makes the close people valuable, is to realize that it's okay to just have those tight few. You don't have to go around like trying to worry about everybody liking you, because newsflash, it's not going to happen. I mean,
You absolutely cannot do that.
an interesting kind of thought I heard was thinking of life in terms of friends and relationships as kind of a zero-sum game. Basically, like the idea that to be so close and form such a meaningful relationship with some people, you have to be almost like, to put it like bluntly, like an embarrassment to other people. You like, to other people you have to just be like, oh my god, I can't stand this guy. Yes, that's probably dramatic, but like to think of things as a zero-sum game kind of means like, you know what, I'm just going to be my authentic self, and whether people like me or not, there's going to be those people that I meet that I am close with. And the only way that you can truly find those people is by being the truest version of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think it also, if you want to look at it like an investment, like you, as you get older And as we've gotten older, you have to decide like who is worth investing your time in. So, like, if you don't think someone's going to reciprocate the same kind of like, I guess, passion towards you or something like that, or care about you the same way that you care about them, then why are you going to waste your time in investing in them? And like, when you're cultivating new relationships, like that's something you kind of, I guess, not have to think like on the forefront, but as it gets deeper and deeper, like who, like what are you telling them? Like how deep are you going? Like, and that's in terms of depth of a relationship and how meaningful it is. Like that's what you kind of start to weigh, and whether it's something that's natural or it feels, I guess, kind of forced.
Yeah, so question for you guys based off of that. What qualities do you guys notice and or look for in your close friendships and or relationships that you would admire and also like you're like, yes, like this is the person I want to have in my life? I have some in mind as well, but
I think the number one thing off the top of my head is just values. I think that to kind of understand that, I almost have to think about the friends that I made in college versus the two of you and our other friends, just because, and not that we don't share the same values, we do. It's just more like I was thinking when I went to college and meeting people that I hadn't already known for so many years. I was like, what drew me to people? What made me so
Right.
close with people? When I think of my roommate, Chris, like he's a like really great friend of mine, one of my best friends, and like he and I just will sit down and we'll have conversations. It's like we value the same things. Are we exactly the same? Absolutely not. I mean, this guy, we're talking champ of champs, like doctor. This guy's an absolute stud. We're not the same, but we share the same values, and we can sit down, and I feel like we see life in a very similar way, such that we are able to kind of just spitball, and whether it's like we're hungover in the living room or we're driving doing something actually productive with our day, we see life in a way that we're able to share those moments and just enjoy them together. I just think
Yeah.
values is like a crucial part of it.
I think one of the big things I've noticed, and I've definitely like seen the opposite from some friends that I've had in college, which has made me realize, like for you guys, like this is why I like you guys so much and am so connected to you guys, is because there's a thing that happens in friendships, I think sometimes, because for example, like we're both guys like going through the same stages of life. I think sometimes guys can get maybe jealous or start to feel competitive with their friends in certain situations. And sometimes I've noticed in some of my past friendships is that when you start excelling and doing really well, they almost don't like it because then they start getting internal about themselves. They start comparing, like, oh well, my friend is doing, like he's doing all great, but like I don't like the idea of him doing great because it's not making me feel great about myself. So I'm not gonna act like it's that great, and I'm not gonna be super happy for him.
You can't be genuine in their
Exactly.
success.
Yeah.
And I think with like what I've been reading is that's something that is so evident that if once you achieve a goal or you kind of get to this realization in life where you want to be at, or your success and whatever that is in your mind, if that person can be on the same page as you without having some internal insecurity on their end, like that's a true friend.
Yeah.
Like
I
that
couldn't
is
agree more.
something that is like, if you have that, hold on to it, because
Yeah.
like that is someone you can very likely always go to and always kind of connect with.
Yeah, so thinking about people that like bring you down, I kind of think of it as a bit of like, and it almost sounds selfish saying this, but I think it makes sense. Is like you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. Like what I mean by that is
On the plane.
people. Yeah, exactly. People that are gonna try to bring you down, the reason that they feel that way is because they're so dependent on what other people think about them, and they're taking your success and they're trying to bring you back down to their level because they're insecure about how they feel about themselves. What really would bring them out of that rut is just working on themselves and finding that inner motivation or inner inspiration to just take action and make it happen in their own life. And when they're not putting on their own oxygen mask, they're just going to rip everyone else's off. Like, it's just kind of like a thing that, I'm not sitting here on my high horse like, oh, I'm completely independent. Like, everybody is
has some
constantly
dependency in some places.
yeah, of course, and everybody's working on improving themselves to some extent, I would like to think. But I think that in order to properly be a good friend to someone or be a good boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever to someone, you have to be at least relatively independent and secure in who you are before you can just go around and just be, bringing down other people.
Right.
I think that's a crucial part of like why people act that way, is just internal insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, going into relationships, that was one of my like biggest issues, I think, like throughout college, especially like seeing girls and like doing all of that. For me at first, like it was very much like you are the other half, like you are like the thing that like completes something, and like that's like a goal, like together we have something complete, and I need a girl to feel fulfilled and this and that and that. And I started putting my own value and self-worth into other people, which I realized was a huge mistake on my end, because in the end that's not really gonna give you any fulfillment and or self-worth, and you also shouldn't put that on somebody to give.
I mean, you're not only carrying your burden, but you're also putting it on them, which is like, I mean, that's not something you can realize right away, but like over time, like as like the relationship with a person like that grows, like you could definitely kind of start to feel like, okay, I'm not, me and this other person aren't two separate entities. Like my identity has kind of transformed into this person, which I think is dangerous. And I actually think a good kind of quote here, perfect friendship is based on willing each other's well-being and shared love for something good and virtuous that is outside either of you. The other person shares in your passion, which is intrinsic, not instrumental. So like having that internal connection of like, you did something good or successful, like I am genuinely happy for you. It's not like, oh, he reached XYZ goal.
Right.
Like I wish I could have done that, like that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. Well, let's put that into perspective. Like for us, you're about to run an Ironman in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I hate this guy. I can't stand this guy. I can't stand him.
Yeah, we could like, be somewhat passive aggressive and like be like, oh yeah, like, oh, good for you and your Iron Man, and like,
yeah, look
like,
at David Goggins over here. Wow, he's so sick. No, I mean it's
it's
impressive.
Awesome. Yeah, like why we're friends is because like I am legitimately so excited for you to run this race, and like I can't wait to support you. But in ulterior, and something I see other friends do, I could be like, oh, well, like, yeah, like, guess you don't have time for other things. Like, you're just always doing your Iron Man. Like, you could throw those passive aggressive things out, and the reason you're doing it is because you're just like, well, I'm not running Iron Man. Like, and internally, like, you could let that bring you down, but also you could just support your friend. And like for you, like when you talk to me about your training, like it just encourages me to like work harder in what I'm doing too, which I think is a great healthy way to like be friends and
kind of boost each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you literally I got off the phone with you and I literally like swear to God watched the training scene from Rocky and Creed and I went straight to the gym. I was like, we are gunning it.
The Rocky Creed training montages get me so excited to
literally
work out every time.
I will run through a wall, like especially for me, Rocky 4 training montage, the two-parter, we're talking training montage and then Hearts on Fire, and then the segue into we're not done yet. We go to Creed 2
in the desert.
And he's in the desert.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
And like Michael B. Jordan is just like he's got like weights on his like neck, and he's like just like just like
Yeah.
doing like neck curls.
They're
or
throwing
something.
like the medicine ball against his abs.
And
while
he's just like taking it, and like Rocky's like, take it. Like, if you want to get motivated, people, we just gave you a plan. I mean, this is as easy as it gets. Like forget about a gym membership. Forget about
Don't worry about your
paying
diet.
for supplements. Worrying about your diet.
Watch Rocky.
And Creed. The new Creed movie was very good as well.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen
really
Creed
liked
3.
it. It kind of moves away from kind of the tie-ins to Rocky as much, but it's really good like as its own like movie. Like I really liked it.
Is the training montage what we want it to be?
I gotta say it was really good, but it wasn't as good as the other ones. The whole movie in general though was good. Personally,
I'm sure.
I
I
don't
heard it
think
was really cool.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as Creed 1 and 2, but I really liked it. Like it wasn't a bad movie by any means, but it was good. Anyway, yeah. So I just advertised Creed 3 for you all. But yeah,
affiliate advertising.
but yeah. So you know, fruits and vegetables. You know, whatever. Watch Creed. Anyway,
Watch movies.
Yep. Yeah. What were we talking about? Motivation, maybe. Oh, I have an idea. So,
Clayton's hijacked the podcast.
people, this is the Clayton podcast now. But a lot of it comes down to kind of like external versus internal motivations. Like people are putting themselves in a place where they're like not only bringing people down, but also just valuing things that are much more external. It's like, oh, I'm going to have a bigger house than this person or a better car. I don't know. Like, I mean, like a better looking wife or a better looking husband. Like people value very material things, but the people that you truly want to surround yourself with should be getting motivation from internal things of accomplishing goals and bettering themselves and improving and learning and just finding internal motivation versus valuing material things and external things.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in one of our first episodes, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation.
I couldn't say the words correctly for some reason. I remember that so well.
Having that thing within you to kind of push you and drive you towards whatever you're working towards, if you can share that with a friend or in a relationship, like that's something that's you should hold on to and is something that's really valuable. And I think on that end, there's this concept too of real friends versus deal friends, and this more applies to people in the working world. You kind of have like your work buddies, I guess, but I think it can apply to people like us at our age group. If you go to college and let's say you're in a social group or fraternity or something like that, you have your real friends, but then you also have, I guess we'll call it friends by affiliation. So like, how do you guys discern who you're really going to go to versus someone you hang out very frequently with, but it's not as deep?
Yeah, I mean, Clayton, you and I are both in fraternities. I'm curious on your perspective of that, because we just have immediate connections through that, but also our actual friends. How do you decipher that, or how do you know like who's your actual friends and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, when by association you're kind of like lumped with a large group of people, like obviously like you're just not going to be best friends with everybody. That's just kind of how it works. But I think it's just important to recognize kind of like, and in that situation and also like just in general like life, there's going to be people lumped into like three groups. Like you're going to have your really close friends or just close people, if we want to say that, like family and your significant other, and you're gonna have that other group that's like, I guess you could call acquaintances. It's like, Clayton's okay, he's all right, he's fine, we're buddies, yeah, we see each other, we say hi, we'll talk. And then there's that other group of people that's just honestly, no matter what you do, they're just not really gonna be a fan of you, and that's okay. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, and there's plenty of people that I've met where it's by no fault of their own, I'm just not, like, I don't click with them, and that's just like, that's okay. But it's important to recognize that, in those group situations when you're buddied up with people, like, you're not gonna just be best friends with everybody. That's just not how it works.
Right. I mean, I think there's definitely some reflection that's worth looking at in that, because for example, like, yeah, if someone just doesn't click with you, that's one thing. But you could also ask yourself if like people that you respect aren't liking you, you should start asking why. Like,
Yeah.
are you doing something
Yeah.
wrong? Like,
Yeah.
do you treat people poorly? Are you making mistakes? Like, do you have bad habits? Because that could also be a possibility. I also agree with you that not everyone has to like you, but if there's people in your life that you respect and they're not liking you, I think it's worth like doing some self-reflection and asking why is that? Why am I doing
Yeah.
something not wrong by another person's standards, but like do I have habits, do I have behaviors that I don't value myself?
Yeah, I think that definitely goes down to kind of the framework we outlined in our first episode is knowing yourself and knowing your values and sticking to those and aligning goals and affiliations like friendships or relationship wise with who you are. Because I mean there's people out there that like granted we do something that's like, we're all kind of share a passion for I guess like exercising. That's something that's pretty common. But there's people out there that have passions and loves that are just not I guess commonplace. So like if you want to look at someone who's an artist or something like that, or like even though it's really interesting and cool, like not everyone is born an artist, or not as many people share that kind of I guess passion. So like if you go into a school or something like that as an artist and like you're trying to see who you align with, like there's a good chance that no one in that vicinity is kind of on the same wavelength as you, and like that I think can be isolating, especially for kids or teenagers. Like that's kind of a scary situation because then it kind of makes you ask yourself, okay, kind of like what you said, like is there something I'm doing wrong? And like the answer could be no, but you have no one to tell you that.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think that's also an important thing that we did as friends. If like we were ever pissing each other off, we would let each other know.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I'm looking right at you, Clayton.
Yeah, it's like I do value honesty, and I think a lot of y'all do too. And I think it's really important to, for me at least, I really value it coming back at me. Like it
Right.
might suck in the short term. Like you might hear something you might not want to hear, but for me to get that like very like authentic like idea of like what someone's thinking and why what I'm doing is pissing someone off so much to the point that they're gonna be like, well, I don't know, Clayton, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm like trying to think of an example, but I honestly can't.
Well, I have an example of you calling me out on my bullshit last night driving up here, and I don't even think you realized I did it, and I didn't even realize I was on my bullshit. But we were driving up here, and I was talking about like the job search, and I was like, oh, like, this other no one else has got a job yet either, and like you were very polite about it. I don't even think you fully realized it. Yeah, you're like, yeah, well, like you just gotta stay on your own grind, man. Like you shouldn't be like making things okay and not working as hard because other people aren't getting results either. And I was like, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I was doing that, but like you like so subtly called me out on my bullshit, and I was like, thank you for saying that. Like in my head, I was like,
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. This is why we're friends, because you're always willing to call me out if ever something like that happens.
Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize too that when a good friend of yours is being honest like that, and I mean, maybe I'm kind of like, saying like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't mean anything, but like, it's like they don't mean necessarily most times, like they're not trying to just dunk on you and just like make you feel bad. Like, no, I like I love you, like you're a great friend of mine, and like I'm just trying to like, I don't know, like look out for you, I guess. But yeah, I just was like, I think I was like getting a little too quotey on you. I probably said something like lazy people find excuses, like persistent people find a way.
You didn't say anything like that. No, it was chill. I was like, no, in my head I was like, damn, like this is like that's a reason why I love having you in my life, because I love having people that are willing to like challenge me.
Yeah.
That's also something I look for in relationships, which I have struggled to find. Like someone who like challenges me, that I like respect highly and has different opinions, that makes me think differently.
Yep.
I like that in friends, and I look for that in my relationships, and my parents do it to me too.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, if you're a relationship or friendship where, and granted, there will be people who are like, oh, like, yeah, I'm on the same wavelength, or yeah, I agree, but that kind of deeper relationship or friendship that you have of people that like, okay, here's your opinion, but here's my opinion, and it's not like contention and I guess different thoughts aren't bad. It's just simply a different way of thinking, which is completely right, and two people can have very different opinions and get to the same kind of conclusion, but it's just being able to kind of open your mindset a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's why too, like, I think we had or like people I've met being kind of out of school early, I think that's why the more and more I've gone out and met different people, like age is definitely just a number. Like it is so much more based on your
What'd you say,
maturity.
Patrick?
all right.
I'll tell you this. For the 27-year-old women in Tiber Creek, age is not just a number. If you're still in college, it doesn't exactly go your way. However, I understand Patrick's point.
No, keep going, Pat.
Right. Beyond the sexual mindset that Clayton's thinking of.
Listen,
Yeah, this is all Clayton's fault.
We were having a damn conversation.
Clayton, you and
you're the one that's
dirty
making it
mind.
like that.
Your dirty mind, Clayton.
Listen, I don't want to, this is you kind of casting that on me. We were just having a conversation, just having a drink. But
anyway, but
Right. Age is just a number.
So
Go, Patrick.
Yeah, go, Patrick. Let's hear this. Like see what you got to say. Age is just a number. Yeah, let's hear it.
In terms of friends and people you connect with, like if
yeah.
you guys
Okay.
are on the same level in terms of maturity and frame of thought, mindset thinking, like there's no reason that someone who's 25 and someone who's 30 can't be best friends. That's kind of what I'm trying to
You
say.
just made a really good point.
It's a great point. But just in the context of
we just
talking about it, I was like,
we
this is great.
absolutely lit it up.
Yeah. And I broke the stool.
Anyway, but yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make, because you'll meet people in your life that are different ages than you or are at different points in their life. But if you guys are of the same mindset and think the same way, there's no reason why you guys can't connect on a deeper level just because you're like, okay, I'm older than this person or younger than this person. Like, if you guys share those values, share those beliefs at wherever you are in life, like that could be someone worth getting a perspective on. So
Yeah. No, so a concrete example of that, Clayton, you actually broke the stool.
I broke the stool.
There is a stool that he's sitting on, and it is completely broken.
I swear I've been losing weight. I don't I don't know what else to tell you. And look at handyman Captain America over here fixing it.
Patrick's about to go whip out his toolbox.
Yeah, here we go.
Right next to his Iron Man training kit.
All right, I'll try not to break it again, but thank you,
Come on,
Pat.
you Hufflepuff.
Appreciate it.
Okay, back to the point. No, there's a ton of freshman age guys who just joined my fraternity. And like some of them I just like have really connected with, just getting to know them. And it's what you're saying about the maturity thing. Like
Yeah.
there's some things that we see the world in like a similar perspective. Because while I said it's important to be challenged, like the people that you're close with, you also have to have like a shared perspective and understand that person and also connect with them too.
Yeah.
It shouldn't always just be conflict and fights and like everything you say I disagree with. That'd be brutal.
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
I think on kind of putting it into like framework perspective is like if you find someone that shares your values and most importantly your values first, and then something you guys are both passionate about, then that's a friendship or relationship that's worth exploring at least. And I mean, it could only go as far as you the effort you put into it on both sides. So, and that's something that with friendships or relationships, whether it's companion or love relationships, like it requires continuous effort. Like you're not just going to be, I think something that's so special about our friend group is we continuously talk like on a monthly or weekly basis. Like, and not that it's like, oh my God, like I have to put effort into it.
God, I hate when
like,
Patrick Collins sends me a text message. It makes me so angry. It takes so much time out of my day.
When Patrick Collins calls me.
When Clayton Brockmann harasses me about fantasy football when it's not football season, like, God, I hate him so much.
You know, I don't know football, but I play in a fantasy league with these guys, and Clayton took advantage of...
I've dunked on him in the past. I mean, like, it is like
he took advantage. He's like, hey, like, you should do this trade. I think it's a good trade. Like, it's fair. And, like, I'm like, okay. And I accept the trade, and literally the fantasy group chat blows up. It's like, this trade shouldn't even be allowed. Like, Jack just screwed himself. And I was, like, so embarrassed.
Listen, sometimes you gotta be the villain. Sometimes you gotta be bad to be good. And you know what? This world takes no prisoners, and in fantasy football, I take no prisoners.
Yeah, no, you were in the group chat. You're like, tell me you would have done the same. Like, I knew his knowledge. Like, I took advantage of it. Like, tell me you would have taken advantage of an opportunity.
That was what was funny is I didn't try to defend the trade itself. I just said you all would have done the same thing if you knew that you could. I didn't try to like most of the times in a fantasy football league when someone like totally like takes advantage of someone in a trade, like someone tries to like defend the trade and be like, listen, well, he's getting this and this back, even if it's complete horse shit. But I literally was like, no, like you would have done the same if you were in my position. If you knew you could get Dalvin Cook on your team for the 50 cents on the dollar, you'd do the same thing.
That's why I don't respond to your fantasy texts, because I don't. When it comes to fantasy football, I don't trust you, and I hate you.
I would hate me too. That's why. That's why.
I'm a great point on French.
Yeah, that's why I just am nasty at fantasy. AJ Shaka, I hope you're listening to this. I'm coming for you.
There will be times.
No, AJ was like, that trade killed him.
He was so mad
because he made a rule like in our fantasy league. He's like, if two people agree, like I can't override the trade.
Yeah, in most cases
like,
you're not really
and he was
supposed
like,
to veto.
I feel so inclined to override this trade, but I can't because like AJ's true to his values, is true to his word. He's like, I said I wouldn't override trades.
We look for similar values in people, including not vetoing trades in fantasy football. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, he just didn't want to, like, feel like he was being too intrusive, but I just thought it was hilarious that it was, like, it got to that point that, like, as soon as I literally texted you and you were like, yeah, it looks good, except, like, the league chat just explodes.
I was in class. I was in, like, an aesthetics for film class.
Yeah.
And I was just... my laptop starts blowing up with text, fantasy football related, about how terrible that trade was, how I'm such an idiot to even consider the trade.
I started being referred to as Thanos in the like chat. It was just like Clayton like adding Infinity Stone to his gauntlet. Like it's like, let's go.
I heard like they snapped Jack out. He snapped Jack out of existence.
Yeah. But then when I ended up, I feel like I remember I lost in like the championship game, and I sent that GIF where he like in Endgame spoiler he fucking dies, and like
that was such a cute comment to make.
Yeah,
spoiler coming, he dies.
He fucking dies. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, but he
usually there's a little pause between spoiler alert and then
it was like you had maybe maybe half a second to click pause. Also, though, if you haven't seen that movie, it's been out for what, like 4 or 5 years. Like that's kind of a you problem. I'm just saying, like it was like the most popular movie maybe of like ever. Like it was up there, and if you haven't seen it, I kind of don't feel bad for you at this point. It's like when someone like hasn't seen like Breaking Bad or something. Like I'm not gonna spoil it because I love the show so much. But like if someone hasn't seen it, I'm like, listen, like that, you're just doing yourself a disservice. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
All right, let's loop it back to the friendship and relationship. So that was a good old tangent, but
that was awesome. Yeah.
That was great.
Here all day.
So. um, like this example. Like, it is perfectly great to have diversity in friends.
Well, the thing is yeah.
Keep going.
Oh no, I'm
already laughing.
segueing right on this point. Is like I think the most valuable times with friends is when you're not like you're just kind of together and you're just spitballing. I mean, it's just not like not everything has to have like perfect. Maybe I don't know what the right word is. It's like not everything has to be like super planned out and be like we're doing like scheduled out this and this and then we're going here and we're doing that. Like the most fun times I've had with y'all is just when we're like sitting in a room and we're just talking.
Yeah.
Or like it's late at night or early in the morning when we had one or two drinks, no more. Like, spitballing, just having fun, just being together and just kind of laughing about memories. We're talking about the Baja Mar or we're talking about just random things like it. Yeah.
That was our senior year of high school spring break resort.
No fun was had whatsoever.
I think we've talked about that on like 3 of the 5 episodes.
Yeah, it's like the guys take one vacation. It's like literally the only thing they can talk about.
Yeah. All right. So loop all this back
Sure.
to friendship, and usually we like have a whole page Google Docs notes for our episodes. We literally woke up this morning. We're like, we're gonna turn on the mics and we're gonna talk about friendship. We had no, which I love. But I guess an example of our tangents and like us like doing that, like that's also just us being friends and just enjoying the presence and not really caring exactly what we're talking about, but connecting with things that we're talking about, which I think is why like the tangents that we've had in this episode have happened is why we're so close.
Yeah, because we can talk about anything and kind of enjoy that moment. And I guess that even though we went on a little loop, like that can be as an example for someone else kind of reflecting on their life and their friendships. Like if you find yourself in that moment where it's like, even though you're supposed to do something or talk about a certain subject and it goes off, like realizing like, all right, that's kind of just being in the moment and enjoying what you have at that time, which it's hard to do, especially when you have something that you want to get planned done. But if you take 30 seconds out of your day to just realize like, all right, what I have right now is special, like you'll be 10 times better off and have 10 like way more clear mindset moving throughout your day and with the people that you're around than just trying to stick to a timeline.
Yeah, I think kind of to like bring it full circle, it almost is kind of a part of just being balanced. Like just having moments in your day where it's really planned out and you feel like you're scheduling yourself and you're being super I don't really know the right word for it, but like a part of being balanced is just taking some moments and just enjoying life and just not worrying too much about like, oh, am I getting off my schedule? Like, if we're just here, we're sitting and talking, like, maybe I have something to do in the afternoon, I'm saying off of a podcast, like, and we're sitting there like we had gone out the night before and we're just hanging out in the morning talking. Sometimes it's better to just, take that half hour or whatever it ends up being and just hang out with the people that you love and share those moments, because what's kind of a harsh part of life is like you only have so many.
Yeah.
Yeah. So value them while they are there.
I couldn't agree more. All right. Should we wrap it?
Yeah. So point is, if it's a wolf pack or your friends, it takes effort, but as long as you continue to align yourself value-wise and passion-wise and continue to grow and take moments to enjoy the friendships and relationships you have, then those are things worth holding on to. So I'm glad I'm great friends and love you guys.
I love you guys too. I love y'all to death. This is really fun. I'm glad we had you, man. Thanks for coming on, Clayton.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I really
First
appreciate
guest.
y'all having me on. Like, I really have enjoyed the podcast so far, so I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
All right, well, let's wrap it. All right, thanks again for listening as always. Much love to you guys. Hello again, everyone. This is Jack Mullen from Well-Rounded Wealth. If you've been enjoying the podcast so far, please feel free to give it a follow from wherever it is that you're listening from, as well as a rating. It actually helps out the podcast a ton, and Patrick and I really appreciate it. Also, come check out our website, wellroundedwealth.com, which serves as the hub for our podcast and also our blog that Patrick and I have been working on. Thanks, everyone.